I'm thrilled to dive into a topic that has the potential to transform your life completely. Are you ready to explore the magic that happens when the whole universe aligns with your intentions? Now let's start by understanding a fundamental truth. The universe has always been connected to the human race. But here's the catch. The energy you emit, the frequencies you resonate with, play a crucial role in the kind of experiences you attract. If you find yourself dwelling in suffering, guilt, unworthiness, or shame, that energy creates a certain magnetism, drawing in consciousnesses that match that frequency. Picture it like having a parasite that weakens the host, but not to the point of destruction. You become a host to energies that thrive on your lower vibrational states. However, the flip side is equally true. When you raise your frequency, when you operate from a place of selflessness and love, you become a vibrational match to higher consciousness. It's a dance of energies, a vibrational match that opens doors to experiences beyond the confines of three-dimensional reality. Having a body isn't the golden ticket to enlightenment. Nope, it's not about just having a body. It goes much deeper. Imagine a radio. Your body is like that radio. And enlightenment is finding the perfect station. It's all about tuning into the right frequency, syncing up with the divine vibes, and letting your heart dance to the rhythm of trust and love. So here's the deal. Enlightenment isn't a body thing, it's a frequency thing. It's like catching the perfect wave in the ocean of existence. To get there, you've got to leave behind the baggage, victimization, the urge to control everything, and the hunger for power. Picture it as a journey into a different way of thinking and feeling, a selfless state where you're not just about you, but part of something bigger. Now let's paint a picture in simpler terms. You're on this love train, cruising at a higher level. Negative emotions? Nah, they're not on board. Your energy field, think of it as your invisible force field, is humming at a different tune. It's like a secret code that connects with the universe, and guess what? A magical door swings open. This isn't your regular door, my friends. It's a portal to another dimension where beings from beyond our everyday reality can nudge the strings of your future. Imagine it like a dance, your energy swirling with theirs, creating a symphony that goes beyond what you can see and touch. It's like connecting with a cosmic field, a force that's way bigger than our everyday lives. So what's the big deal about this vibrational match? Well, think of it like meeting someone who just gets you, but on a cosmic level. It's like your energy high-fives theirs, and suddenly the universe is whispering secrets to you. These beings from different realms, they're like friends from another dimension, giving you a backstage pass to the cosmic concert of life. But here's the kicker. If you're stuck in the muck of negative vibes, these energy beings won't be your buddies. They're into high fives, not drama. It's like a switch. When you move past the negativity, these beings can't vibe with you anymore. You become a different tune, and they're not into that old song you used to sing. Yet if you're stuck in lower vibrational states, unable to break free, there are entities that thrive on feeding off those emotions. They attach themselves to your suffering, and when you finally break free, they lose their grip because you are no longer the host they feed on. Here's the thing, our ultimate intention is to connect to the divine, to become divine ourselves. We aim to open our hearts, trust again, and teach our bodies what our future could feel like emotionally. In our week-long events, we practice shifting from guilt, shame, resentment, jealousy, and competition to love. The goal is coherence. Imagine your heart as the captain of a ship, sailing through the vast ocean of life. Now, when this captain, your heart, is sailing smoothly, when it's all in sync and harmonious, something amazing happens. The invisible force field around you, let's call it your personal bubble, grows and expands up to 3 meters wide. It's like the aura of good vibes surrounding you. Now think of this expanded force field like a magical Wi-Fi signal. But instead of connecting you to the internet, it broadcasts your unique frequency to the universe. It's like your own special radio station, sending out signals that resonate with the cosmos. And guess what? The universe is listening, but here's the the cool part. It's not just your heart that's in on this magical Wi-Fi game. Your brain is also a player. Picture your brain like a smart device, and you're teaching it a new trick. You're telling it to create coherence, a fancy word for working together like a well-oiled machine. So, how do you do it? Well, it involves two brain buddies, the neocortex, the thinker, and the limbic brain, the feeler. You're asking the thinking part to take a little break and letting the feeling part take the lead. It's like saying, hey, overthinking, you chill for a bit. Feeling, you're up. Now, when your brain is in this sweet spot of coherence, it's like having another Wi-Fi signal. It's not about browsing the internet. It's about tapping into a cosmic network. This brain Wi-Fi connects you to the quantum field, a place where all the cosmic information hangs out. Let me share an experience from an advanced event called Dream Time. We kept participants between wakefulness and sleep in the theta realm from 11 at night till 8 in the morning. I observed the entire audience as they had profound, transcendental experiences. In one instance, after my meditation, I saw a beautiful fractal pattern with my eyes closed, a standing wave of information. It unfolded onto a being standing right next to me, a being resonating with a harmonious symphony. In fifth-dimensional creation, you're not going anywhere to get anything. It's about collapsing space and time, drawing the experience to you. In fifth-dimensional creation, the combination of clear intention, coherent thought, coherent brainwave pattern, and a coherent heart creates a new signature in the quantum field. This signature, repeated daily, turns you into a vortex, drawing experiences to you. Thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic, and you become the attractor of your desired reality. Now, my definition of creation is reaching that elegant moment of the generous present, becoming pure consciousness. When you forget about yourself, becoming nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time, that's where all possibilities in the quantum field exist. The work is in getting to that moment, reaching the state of coherence where your brain and body are in the present moment. So how do you reach that state? By shifting from three-dimensional creation, which is based on controlling and focusing on matter, to focusing on energy and space. As you open your focus, your brainwaves transition from beta to alpha, not just any alpha, but coherent alpha. Coherent brainwave patterns synchronize different compartments of the brain, linking thoughts and feelings. When you're under stress, your brain is incoherent, but coherence brings unity. Now, stepping into the unknown is where true creation happens. The unknown is the perfect place to create something new. If you become comfortable in that space, you can predict the future by creating it from that unknown place. When you cross the river of change from the old self to the new, there's a biological, neurological, genetic, chemical death of the old self. This unfamiliar place is where the new self emerges. As you leave the old behind and create the new, the crucial question arises, what thoughts do you want to think? What behaviors do you want to embody? Mental rehearsal, a neuroscientific model, involves imaging and rehearsing a new way of being. Remind yourself daily of who you no longer want to be and who you aspire to become. This process silences circuits connected to the old self, inhibits chemicals reaffirming the same identity, and installs new circuits in your brain, creating a new you. You are the vortex, the attractor of your experiences. In fifth-dimensional creation, you collapse space and time, drawing the desired reality to you. The key is to embrace the unknown, become comfortable in that space, and create from there. It's time to let the whole universe magically work for you, aligning with your intentions and bringing forth the life you've always dreamed of. So as you embark on this journey of self-discovery and transformation, know that the power to shape your reality lies within you. Trust in the process, open your heart, and let the magic unfold. This is your message, and the universe is waiting to co-create with you. When people can't get up in the morning and they can't get out of bed, I'm going to tell you why. Because they can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in their life. And their body's resigned to the familiar and says, oh, another mundane day. But remember when you were a kid and you were going on a field trip? What happened then? You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up. You know why? Because you knew something unexpected was going to happen. That's how we should live our lives. Waking up with the understanding to expect the unexpected. And something unusual should happen in our life as a result of our efforts. And it's just those beginning moments where it begins to happen that we begin to prove to ourselves how powerful we really are. So take time in the morning and the evening and the rest of the day. Check in with yourself at certain times to see if you're still in that energy. And if you're not, excuse yourself for a second, raise your energy and step back into your life. If you keep doing that over and over again, you'll become less frustrated, less impatient, less judgmental. You'll just become something of the past and you'll be someone else. When you finish a meditation, if you get up feeling the same way as you sat down, nothing really happened. Nothing happened neurologically, biologically, chemically, hormonally, genetically. You're still in the same state of being, but when you get up and you feel like elevated sense of self, your heart is swollen and you have a clear vision of your future and your energy's different. The question is, how long can you maintain that state? So you're literally broadcasting a whole new electromagnetic signature in that state. Thoughts tend to be electric and feelings tend to be magnetic. The way we think and feel is what we broadcast into the field, and what we broadcast into the field is our experimental destiny. So then when you go within and you disconnect from your outer world and you sit your body down and it's no longer experiencing anything and you're not thinking about your schedule, your past, or your future, as I said today, you're being defined by thought and you're making your inner world more real than your outer world. When you open your eyes and you present yourself to the world, the job then is to not react emotionally to the same conditions in your life. Because the moment you react emotionally, you're equal to the conditions in your life and you're back in your past. So then when you fall from grace and you move off that state, then you sit down and you realign, you begin to tune in again and you change your energy again. Now, when I'm going through change in my life, or I will have a specific outcome that I want to create, I love to get up early in the morning. That's my time. I'm a 4:30 in the morning guy because that's my time. The rest of the day I'm serving, but I love getting up early and changing and working and having some time to myself. And I believe that when I invest in myself, I invest in my future. And that time in my morning, nobody bothers me because that's my time. And because of brain waves and brain chemistry, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is more open. And so if I get up early and I'm kind of between theta and alpha, I don't have to work as hard. I'm not thinking, I just kind of relax into the moment. In the evening, I always ask myself, how did I do? How was one lifetime in one day? Where did I fall from grace? What happened? And so then when I look at seeing how I reacted to someone or something, or I made the choice that I could have made a better choice, I naturally, we all do this, begin to think, well, if the same situation happened again, how would I do it differently? And that's the act of beginning to come up with a new plan. The act of rehearsing it in your mind begins to install the circuits in your brain, priming your brain so that when the next experience happens, you could modify your behavior to do a better job in life. That's called plasticity. If you decide, okay, if I'm taking time out of my busy life to emulate the divine creator, then if I'm gonna create something unlimited, I better feel unlimited. If I'm gonna do something magnificent, I have to become magnificent. And if you keep doing that over and over again, it will begin to become more readily available to you. It'll get easier. And so when we're in that energy all the time, that's when the synchronicities and the serendipities and all those wonderful coincidences begin to happen. And it's those coincidences that are feedback in our environment where the field begins to open doors for us. That's what we want to occur. Now, I have worked on things in my life, and I'm a sincere person. I've worked on things in my life for years, and I always thought it was about the event or the experience I wanted to create, but all along I was changing. And when I finally reached a point where I could care less if I could have the experience, is the moment it happened. But all along, the divine loving intelligence, this mother-father principle, of course, it's observing us into life. We are vitalistic, energetic beings that when we begin to unify all these principles that we're talking about, you can't get this in one sitting. You can't. You have to keep understanding it, keep reviewing it, keep redoing it, keep experiencing it. And new experience then causes you to dream in a way you would have never dreamt before unless you had that experience. And that's how God gets to know itself. So then, I don't care what meditation you do, I just like the fact that you're connecting. And the more you connect, the more whole you feel, the more natural it becomes. Then, of course, the next experience then causes you to dream in another way. And what I know from my own experience and many students, it's not about material things. It's about those mystical moments, those transcendental moments, those moments where your jaw drops and you are in awe of life. Those moments that take our breath away, that cause us. And this has happened to me so many times. Every time I have one of those experiences, I think to myself, I got this all wrong. I got this all wrong. Some veil has been lifted, and now I'm seeing more clearly about the way things really are. Intention is, you may say, I want a healing, I want a new job, I want a new relationship. Now, the moment you ask the question, the what-if question, what would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to have a new job? What would it be like to be in a new relationship, to do whatever, to be healed? The moment you ask that question, the part of your brain called the frontal lobe, which is the crowning achievement of the human being, 40% of your brain is the frontal lobe. It's the workshop. It's the creative center. Frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of your brain. The moment you ask an open-ended question, you speculate a possibility. The creative center turns on and it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain and begins to call up different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain based on something you've learned intellectually, knowledge, or something you've experienced in your life, like, well, I know what it is to be in love, or I know what it is to have a good job, or I read a book about it. And it begins to call up these different networks of neurons, and then it seamlessly pieces them together to create a new idea, a new vision. And when you put all those networks together and they fire in tandem, you'll get a clear picture in your mind. And that clear picture is called intention. Now, the more you have conditions or the more you have specifics about that job, like for example, I want to make this amount of money more a year, I want to have health benefits, I want to have 3 weeks vacation, I want to travel, I want to work with great unlimited creative people, that all is the elements that help to add to that vision. Now, the picture you get in your mind could be the word job, or it could be just an image that's personal to you, but the image then represents all of those conditions. So you can have several conditions that make up your intention. But the intention typically is a symbol, like you may see a retreat center that you may want to start, and you have a picture of it. But once you see that picture, the next thing that happens, you start to live that dream. The moment you start to take that dream and it turns into a living motion picture, now you're in that imaginary place. What happens is, the moment it starts taking on form and it starts taking on time, you start to experience it. All the things you're going to do, you're actually living in that future, and your brain does not know the difference between the actual event that takes place in your life and what you're imagining in your mind. We call it mental rehearsal in my work. But you're literally rewiring yourself to the future. Now, your brain is no longer a record of the past. It's now, in fact, a map to the future. Now, most people stop at this level, but there's another level. Because once you have that intention, and I watched you do this, what makes the intention have life is when you combine it with that emotion. Why? Because your body is your unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. And when they do that properly, they do enter the operating system where they can begin to make some really important changes. So most people then wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis. They wait for loss, some tragedy to make up their mind to change. And my message is, why wait? And you can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. I think right now the cool thing is that people are waking up. Most people spend 70% of their life living in survival and living in stress. So they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. And they're literally out of the infinite potentials in the quantum field. They're selecting the worst possible outcome, and they're beginning to emotionally embrace it with fear. And they're conditioning their body into a state of fear. Do that enough times, body has a panic attack without you. You can't even predict it because it's programmed subconsciously. So people become addicted to the rush of those emotions, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their limitations so at least they can feel something. So now when it comes time to change, you say to the person, "Why are you this way?" Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event is occurring, firing and wiring the same circuits and sending the same emotional signature to the body. What's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is your unconscious mind. In a sense, if you're sitting down and you start thinking about some future worst-case scenario that you're conjuring up in your mind, and you begin to feel the emotion of that event, your body doesn't know the difference between the event that's taking place in your world, outer world, and what you're creating by emotion or thought alone. So most people then, they're constantly reaffirming their emotional states. So when it comes time to give up that emotion, they can say, "I really want to do it." But really the body is stronger than the mind because it's been conditioned that way. So the servant now has become the master. And the person all of a sudden, once they step into that unknown, they'd rather feel guilt and suffering because at least they can predict it. Being in the unknown is a scary place for most people because the unknown is uncertain. People say to me, "Well, I can't predict my future. I'm in the unknown." And I always say, the best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day? The act of rehearsing them mentally, closing your eyes and rehearsing the action. Rehearsing the reaction of what you want or the action of what you want. The action of what you want by closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing some action. If you're truly present, the brain does not know the difference between what you're imaging and what you're experiencing in 3D world. So then you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like the event has already occurred. Now, your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's a map to the future. And if you keep doing it, priming it that way, the hardware becomes a software program. And who knows, you just may start acting like a happy person. And then I think the hardest part is to teach our body emotionally what the future will feel like ahead of the actual experience. So what does that mean? You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You can't wait for your wealth to feel abundant. You can't wait for your new relationship to feel love or your healing to feel whole. I mean, that's the old model of reality, of cause and effect, waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside of us. When we feel better inside of us, we pay attention to whoever or whatever caused it. But what that means then is that from the Newtonian world is that most people spend their whole life living in lack. When you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Number one, take some time out of your busy lives to disconnect from your world. Shut your cell phone off, turn the TV off, power down your computer. Sit your body down for a few minutes and close your eyes. Number one. Number two, take some breaths and center yourself. When you center your attention into the present moment, you have more energy to create with. When your mind wanders to the predictable future or the familiar past, that's normal. Just become aware of it. Keep working on settling yourself back down into the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you're the most creative. Number 3, ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? What do I want in my life? And take the time to answer the question. The elevated emotion is the carrier of the thought. So all energy, all frequency carries information. The faster the frequency, the higher the energy, the more elevated the emotion combined with a clearer intention is like a laser, because you're creating a more coherent signature. And we know, because we've measured this, that when people have a coherent brain and a coherent heart, something amazing is going to happen in their life. It's not just feeling the gratitude, because we know that just having an elevated emotion doesn't affect matter. We know that just the clear intention of seeing something change doesn't affect matter. They've done experiments on this. You have to combine then the clear intention with the elevated emotion. The emotion is the energy, the frequency, the carrier of the thought. The thought is the intent, it is the direction, it is the specific field, frequency. So it's like tuning a radio dial. So if it's all about vibration, it's all about energy. When there's a vibrational match between your energy and that potential that exists in the quantum field, when there's a vibrational match, it's going to find you. Intention is getting clear on what you want. So let's say you want a new home. Let's say you want a beautiful garden. Well, then start ripping out magazine pictures of gardens that you love. Start drawing pictures. Start seeing and start writing down the things that you want. Throw it up somewhere and then add another dream and add another dream. And keep your mind. If you keep your conscious mind on that, your subconscious mind will take you there. Now, I'm not an impatient person, because I know that impatience means I believe that something's not going to happen. But we're here to experience life. We're here to enjoy the magnificence of our creations. And our senses then become the artist that writes the story in our biology. So then, when you start to see that home and that vision, you start making the choices for it, and you step into the unknown, and you become the creator, and you do something that's never been done before. And it brings you joy, and it brings you excitement, and it has meaning behind it. Then your body is always following your mind. So of course it's going to take time, but it's no different than a garden that you tend in your life. You're always going to be pulling weeds out and always going to be pruning branches, and you're always going to be fertilizing and pulling rocks out. But that's the joy of the creation, because you get to eat the fruit of your own creation. So then our senses should be the last to experience what our mind has created. So the intention then represents all the details. But all the details can be summarized in a symbol, a letter, a picture, one picture. And you know that that picture means all of those things, because you reviewed all of those things. If you hold the picture, you hold the symbol, you hold the dream house, you hold the dream garden. But you don't say, oh, when this dream garden comes, then I'm going to be happy. You say, the thought I'm having is the experience, and the experience then produces the emotion. And once the emotion begins to occur, now your brain and body are in the future instead of in the past. Once you start opening your heart, it begins to move into coherence. It begins to produce a measurable magnetic field up to 3 meters wide. Now that's frequency, that's energy. And all that energy, that frequency, carries information, carries an intent. So then, when you're feeling gratitude and your heart is open, you're broadcasting energy into the field. That frequency, you lay the intent of the thought of your health and your wealth. That frequency can carry the thought of your wealth. It can carry the thought of your health. If you're suffering, you can't. Suffering does not carry. That energy does not carry the thought of your wealth. It carries a different set of thoughts. If you're going to believe in that future that you're imagining with all of your heart, it better be open and activated, and you better know how to self-regulate, And you have to know the moment you disconnect from the energy of your future because of some circumstance in your life, and you lose that feeling, if you're practicing it on a daily basis with your eyes closed, then the next level is to be able to open your eyes and do it right in the moment and be able to self-regulate and change the frustration from some experience in your life back to the energy of your future. Now that requires great awareness and great effort. But if you have a community of people that are practicing this on a daily basis and they're connected to their future because that's where their mind is, they begin to want the future more than the emotions of the past. Sure, I think we're reality-producing machines. I mean, there's no single individual on this planet who doesn't create reality unless they have a brain injury or something. But for the most part, most of us are engaged in reality, and we do cause effects. I think we reach a certain point in our life where we stop learning and we start feeling. And when we use feelings as a barometer for the unknown, it's contraindicated because feelings are usually a record of a past experience. So we try to predict how that future event is going to be based on a feeling, and we always return back to the old self again. So I love the idea of how we can actually produce effects. I love the idea that every human being either lives in one of two states of mind. We either live in creation, which is growth and expansion, and its health and homeostasis, the emotions of love and joy and trust that make us feel connected to something bigger than us. Or we live in a state of survival, and the state of survival is living in stress. Living in stress is when your body is knocked out of balance, and the redundancy of that cycle over time, that imbalance that keeps happening, begins to break the body down. And I think the biggest problem for us, because of the size of our brains, is we can turn on a stress response just by thought alone, and we do it all day long. In that continuous, redundant being out of balance over time, that imbalance becomes the new balance, and now we're headed for contraction and disease, and feeling separate from the field and being selfish instead of selfless. We begin to live in a state of breakdown, a state of disease and a lack of health. And so then those emotions of those survival chemicals endorse the ego. And then we become more self-indulgent and more self-important and more self-serving, because that's what those chemicals do. So we live in one of those two states of mind. Now those chemicals tend to be highly addictive. So this is a really good dinner conversation. We can talk about it, right? But actually breaking through, that's, I think, when you free yourself from the chains of those emotions that we memorize. When we actually break through, when we remove that mind out of the body, when we break the emotion that's trapped in physical flesh and the body's liberated, that's true self-love. That's true joy. It's the liberation of energy. So the anger that once was in there, the hatred that was once in there, the prejudice that was once in there is transformed. It's transmuted into joy. It's the same energy, but it just has a different spin. And so no one can do that for you. That isn't something where someone waves a wand and then it happens. You have to actually be willing to be uncomfortable as you break that addiction and be okay with it. And then, the moment the body's liberated and you feel that expansion, that's the natural state of being. So you say, I love myself so much because I went further than I thought I could go. I transcended some limitation about myself in the way I think, in the way I act, in the way I feel. That's the personality. That's the identity. Changing one of those things, really changing it. Not just like changing your mind like I want vanilla ice cream instead of chocolate ice cream, but truly changing something that changes your neurology, your neurocircuitry, changes the chemistry, which is your emotions that signal the gene that begins to change your very expression of health and the very expression of life. Talking about when you make that emphatic declaration where you make that change and it's undeniable. There's a biological, neurological, and quantum effect as a result of it.